Hello everybody, my name is JD Shadow, and this is going to be something in which I feel like needs to be addressed because we have been hearing about it for the past couple of months, maybe even more so than that. I do feel as if it does get overblown to a huge degree, and because of it, I'm going to actually address it because we've been hearing about it, not only for the flaws in Say Living Crystal, but how we crystal reactors, well, react to it. First things first, yes, we did all notice what happened in Act 17 when Usagi used the Moonstick instead of the QD Moon Rod for her Moon Princess Halitation attack. Yes, we did react to it, and yes, we did say something about it. It was a tremendous mistake. It was a horrific mistake, and they should be called out for it. They should definitely need to atone for that. However, let's talk about what else could be mistakes and why, despite all the mistakes and despite all of the errors that Toei Animation makes onto the show, that this is still an enjoyable show and why we Crystal Reactors definitely continue to watch and enjoy it, and why all fans continue to enjoy it. Let's first get to one of the things I keep harping on Twitter and on Facebook and on social media all the time. It is what happened on Act 3. In case you are not aware, one of Usagi's Odongos was missing in a shadow during the temple scene where she meets Rei. Now, a lot of people commented on this and a lot of people raised a fit about it, and in my review of the episode, before I did my reactions, I didn't even notice it, so I refused to bring it up because how can I talk about something that I did not see? I was focused more on the story than what was going on in the background. Well, I took to Reddit in order to address this, and everybody got up in arms that I did not make this a big deal, saying that I should make this a big deal because it is something that we need to call out to Toei Animation. I did not agree with this. Here's the issue that I addressed, is that if it distracts from the overall immersion of the story, if it distracts from anything else that's going on in that scene, like Act 2, and those errors did in the close-ups with Ami, then it is deserving to be addressed. It does break immersion, it does make people want to stop and stare, it does make people who would otherwise never stop and say something about it to, in fact, say something about it. That whole thing with the Odongo, as much as it was an error, wasn't as big of an error as people made it out to be. And it's because of that that I got a little jaded, to be quite honest with you. And I do to this day. I don't think it was that big of an error. Yes, Toei should fix that, and they probably will in the Blu-ray release. However, it is not something that is going to make or break the episode. But let's get to a more recent complaint that people have had with these errors. Let's get to the idea of being funny, the idea of being funny faces. We have no doubt seen Makoto's silly face when Asaruma said that he saw a cat talk. We're no doubt talking about Luna, and then Makoto showed that shocked, funny face. Now, during the beginning of the series, during the beginning of Crystal, we had heard the complaints that there weren't enough funny faces to be had on the show. There weren't enough silly moments to be had with Usagi and the rest of the Senshi. Now we're hearing that there are too many funny faces and they seem sort of out of place given that they weren't there before. Imagine my shock and awe about all of that. It just strikes that they want to have it both ways, and what are those both ways? Either you want it or you don't. They can't go back and change every single episode just so there's some funny faces, so it is in place with that particular episode in which we are talking about, which is of course Act 17. And they're not going to subtract the Act 17 funny face because, hey, this is what the people wanted to begin with, so now they're going to add it in, and what, now we don't want it? We need to make up our minds on this matter. We need to make up our minds on a lot of things. Either we want it to be completely faithful to the manga without any sort of change, or we want them to switch it up from time to time in order to make it a bit more interesting. I have seen that complaint too. I have seen people complain that now they're following way too close to the manga and they should change it up a little bit, as they did with the first arc, the Dark Kingdom arc, and the Shiteno. Although, if you saw the complaints that people had when the Shiteno was just blown right off the map by Materia, and yes, that was rightfully complained about by just about every single person, then you will no doubt know that, yeah, it's good if you just keep it simple and keep it more faithful to the manga, as opposed to trying to change it up and then having to do a hand wave later on. But this is one of the reasons why at the first instance that I created that In Media Impressions video series that I decided to not read the manga. It is because I wanted to focus a lot more on the story, but more along the lines of that, I wanted to see whether or not the mistakes that were made in the series in the animation department distracted with the overall story. If they did not, then it is not likely that I'm going to bring them up because I did not notice them. Things like replacing the cutie moon rod with the moon stick is highly noticeable, and everybody should have noticed that. However, did it ruin the entire episode? I don't think it did. I thought it was a tremendous episode nonetheless, and yeah, mistakes are going to happen, and me being used to things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back in the 1990s, when that show had a ton of animation mistakes, I am kind of used to seeing some things go wacky and off the rails. Also, keep in mind that I also think that they are animating these things as they go along. They don't have the episodes all done yet, and that's why you're seeing some of the improvements from the original air date to the Blu-ray discs. Is because I have noticed that they are changing and improving the episodes from when we see the trailers for the next episode from when we see that actual episode. Look at my Act 12 review of this series and you will no doubt see what I thought about what they changed about Beryl's hair when she did her hair attack to entrap the sailors. But should we make a big deal out of them? Not really. Unless they completely distract from your overall experience and they are not nitpicking on things. I thought the Odongo thing was severely nitpicking. I thought that one moment was telling as to how much people are paying way too much attention to detail, and yeah, they should fix it, but it's not going to make or break the series for me. It's not going to spark a fire in my soul. It's not going to make me go out to toy animation with pitchforks and torches. It's not going to do that for me, and I would say to everybody who is nitpicking on things to calm the hell down. It is not that big of a deal. We still enjoy the series for a story, for the fact that we're getting a new revitalization of Sailor Moon. We finally are getting it. This is what we've wanted all along. Why are we making a huge deal about a few smaller mistakes? There's obviously big ones to be had. The cutie moon rod being replaced by the moon stick is obviously one of them. But still, even with that, it's still an enjoyable series. We are still enjoying it. We're still getting immersed in the story. We're still liking what they do with the series. We're still liking the interactions with the other sailors. We're still liking all of that. So they're doing something right. It's getting onto TV in Japan. They are doing something right. And if you want something to happen in the anime and you get it, you should probably be thankful that they're adding them in. These silly voices was something we wanted. We wanted to see them be a little bit more loose. We wanted to see them be a little bit more animated. And now we're getting it. Now we're going to complain about that? We're going to bitch about that? Is that how we're going to be? Are we going to try to have our cake and eat it too here? Is that how we're going to act the toy animation? They're probably not going to want to make the series anymore because they don't know what's going to please us. We're doing the old flip-flop. Yes, if it's a big mistake, then we should call it out. But if it's not that huge of a deal, then why make it into that huge of a deal? Why try to make a mountain out of a molehill here? So yeah, if there is a huge mistake, then yeah, it should be called out. And we probably will call it out. And we did call it out. Which brings me to the idea of Crystal Reactors being too positive about the series. What? Let me explain why I believe this has become a little bit of a big deal for me. I had recently searched for Sailor Moon Crystal reactions and I came across a particular particular thread on NeoGAF, which I hesitate to actually want to give them any publicity, but they were talking about the series as well, and they got to Act 12. One of the people who were replying to the Shintendo being just wiped off the face of the earth in the hand wave actually brought up the reaction that Aurora Peachy made when she paused the actual video to explain her disdain for the hand wave. A few people actually did say that she might be a bit too happy about the series, and that people were happy that she actually criticized the series a great deal for that. And it was the right thing to do to criticize about that whole thing, because quite frankly, episode 12 just gave us a bit of a middle finger about a lot of the things we were hoping for. I was hoping for a good bit more about Beryl's backstory, and we just got a little snippet of something, and then she just evaporated into nothing. I was a little bit dismayed by that, and a lot of people were dismayed by the Shintendo just being hand-waved. But to say that we were too positive about the series, I don't think so. But the most damning thing that I've seen was from a Tumblr blog, which I'm not going to advertise here, saying that, again, on the Act 12 reviews, that some people, some reactors were to quote-unquote pride side. Of course, they were also happy that we had criticized Act 12, however, I don't know where they get that phrase, pride side. Now, I cringe whenever I have to give this thing attention, and quite frankly, I don't really want to give these sort of people the attention that they probably seek. I don't want to give NeoGAF any attention, you know that for damn sure. And the people who are complaining about the series, who are just flip-flopping throughout the whole complaints that they have, are also those that I shouldn't really give any attention to. However, I do think it has to be brought up about us Crystal Reactors and about the complaints that I have heard. Let me echo the concerns that Peachy had when she was dealt with the complaints about the dress in Act 13. Do we wish that Toei Animation would animate the show better? Yes. Do we want for them to have better writing? Of course. Who wouldn't want them to have better writing? Who doesn't want them to improve on what they've already have accomplished? Do we wish that they had treated the series better? Of course. But that's not going to stop us from liking the show. It's not going to stop us from enjoying the show. It's not going to stop us from being immersed in the show. And for God's sakes, it's not going to stop us from watching the show or from being entertained by it. I work countless hours. I worked 5 or 6 hours on Act 17 in order to make sure that was better than what Act 16 was. I took a great deal of flack for that Act 16. I took a great deal of time in order to make sure that was all correct, because I want to be able to provide the highest quality content that I can possibly have. And through all of that, I was pleased by the episode. I was pleased by Act 17. I was pleased that they gave Makoto some form of boyfriend, some form of character development that she did not have beforehand. When we get emotional off of these episodes, when we get emotional off of this show, it is not an act. It is not something that we just do in order to ham up to the camera. It's not something we just put out there. It is something that we take into account because we have loved the series. We have loved this franchise since we had first discovered it wherever we discovered it. I discovered it in 1997 on the USA Network, and the rest was freaking history. We would not have that kind of dedication to the show if we did not like the show. If we really thought that the show was not worthy of our attention, we would not be creating these series. We would not be making these videos. We would not even be watching the show. Why do you think that we're even watching this series? Because it has sentimental value to us. It has affected us in many ways, to some a little different ways than others. It has done a great deal, and this series has definitely affected a lot of people. When you see a reactor crying while they are editing out the Act 13 review, that shows you that the show is doing something right to us. When I am getting emotional on Act 16 of Ami's father leaving her, somebody who doesn't usually get emotional out of these things, that is showing you that they are doing something right. And it is not a play. It is not an act. We are really getting emotional. We are really reacting. And you know what? Yes, we do get critical of the series. Yes, we do call out these things. Yes, we do call out things like the cutie moonrod or the animation mistakes in episode 2 or anything in between of that. Yes, we are going to call it out, but we're not going to nitpick. We are not going to make a mountain out of a molehill. We are not going to let it distract us from the enjoyment of the series. And we're going to judge it based upon if it is such a big deal that we need to address it and it breaks immersion from the rest of the act or the rest of the series. And for those people who are voting us down or are saying that we need to be more critical and are not liking us because we're not critical enough, why do you think that there is a difference of opinion? Why do you think I say that debate is always welcome? Why do you think that we're asking for comments to our videos? Because we want to know what you guys think. We want to know what you guys feel about it. You are no doubt free to disagree, but in order to go onto a blog or to just complain that we are not criticizing things enough, it's just an opinion. It is just an opinion. It's just that. But to say that we are acting out these things and not really enjoying the series, what? Is that how we're going to play out this whole thing? Is that how we're going to act whenever there's a difference of opinion? And if we did not sincerely enjoy the series, we would not be creating the videos in the first place. We would not be watching the show. We would be watching something else on the first and third Saturdays of every month. And yes, we have called out that too. We would not be enjoying the series for what it is. And we would not be working countless hours in order to make sure the videos were completely right and we got the clips we want, or to encode it in 1080p, or to upload it to YouTube. We would not be doing those things if we didn't sincerely enjoy the series. And the reactions you see are genuine. They are 100% pure quality genuine. So if you want to say that we're pride side, I don't know where that phrase is coming from, then yeah, you could say that, but it's because we really do like the series. It is a good series, despite its flaws, despite the stuff that we're going to call out, which we will continue to call out. Nothing is stopping us from doing that. Just because we're quote-unquote pride side doesn't mean we're not going to call out animation mistakes if they are worthy to be called out on. If we notice something, then yeah, we're going to say something about it, but if it's going to be just a minor flaw, then we're not going to make a mountain out of a molehill about it. I use that phrase a lot this whole video, but it begs to be repeated that we're just being a little bit too nitpicky at that point. And we're not going to be nitpicky. So yeah, if you have a problem, if you have an issue with what we say, then go ahead and disagree, but don't punish us. Do not punish the reactors for having a difference of opinion, because we invite the debate and we do spend a lot of hours creating these videos for you. We do that because we like the people who come onto the channels and express their gratitude for our hard work. And it is such hard work. I got up about 6 a.m. in the morning in order to make sure that everything was put together and ready to go in order to record that Act 17 episode. 6 o'clock in the morning, and I spent about 5 hours from 11 o'clock to about 5 p.m. Maybe more so, just making sure that everything was right for that episode. And I'm going to be punished because I didn't call out something that was a little bit nitpicky. Granted, the Cutie Moonrod thing was a huge mistake, but imagine if the same thing happened about a dongo being missing, and I didn't make a big deal out of it, and somebody decided that they wanted to flood me with dislikes or flood me with all sorts of hate because of that. That disvalues the work that we put in. That disvalues a lot of things. Differences of opinion are going to happen. Differences of opinion will take place. There is no avoiding that. There is nothing that's going to keep us from disagreeing with one another at one point in time. But that should not stop you from enjoying the work that people put into these videos. And not just Sailor Moon videos, but videos in general. If you have a difference of opinion, don't be afraid to express it through the comment section. That's why I want comments on my channel. That's why I want comments on my videos, because I want to find out what people think. That's called fan engagement. That's called engaging with your audience. We want that. We want people to be able to express what they think about the series and whether or not they disagree or agree with some of the things we have said. But that doesn't mean you have to punish us just because you disagree with us. And for God's sakes, please make up your mind about what exactly it is you want the series to do. Either you want the silly faces or you don't want the silly moments and faces. Either way, please pick one, because they have done it both ways. You can complain about both ways. They're not even adding them come in to shoehorn it in. They're just doing one of them and you complained about one of them. More silly moments are a good thing. More serious moments are a good thing. Nitpicking is a bad thing. And complaining to us reactors that we are not nitpicking on the same things that you are doesn't make us pride side. It makes you have a degree of pride envy. My name's JD Shadow, and that just happened.